Hi, I'm Gary Smith, and this is an introduction to the new forum on big questions and the Squidoo lens also on the big questions of life. This will be a self-interview. I'll be asking the questions and answering them. So my first question for myself is, what motivated you, Gary, to start Big Questions? Well, it was a natural happening. It's an extension of myself. I was, from an early age, a seeker of God and of truth, always the highest truth. That really propelled me through my early life. And as a teenager, I remember writing a prose in which I asked the question, why am I distinct from everything else, from the trees and from the other? Why is there a border between myself and the other? And where do my borders end and the other begin? So in my early 20s, there was a life-shaking event. And up to that point, I had practiced both Western and Eastern religions. But after the life-shaking event, I went into a very rigid, rule-based life view and world view that I was drowning in dogma and didn't know it over the next several years. In the early 90s, there was another life-shaking event. And even though it's been 20 years, I remember clearly being in my office at my desk and writing out my questions, my big questions. What do I really believe and why? Through that process, I developed principles of life that I would follow rather than the opinions of others or a tradition that really wasn't me. And so I came back to living my truth, to being true to myself. In the 1998, 99, I was the editor of a 2-volume book called Vision River Guide. It was composed of profiles of books on finding life purpose and awareness in energy medicine. And so through this reading all these books and the workshops that I had attended, I started realizing that it wasn't enough just to read the words of others or to listen to the opinions of others, but I needed to process it, I needed to integrate it for it to make any difference in my life. And that's where the life principles guided me through being true to myself to move from the southeast of America to the northwest, where I met Kati through magic synchronicities, all guided by intuition. And so my next question for the interview is it important to ask big questions? Clearly, I think it is, and it has been for my life. But to answer that question or address it, I would say, what do we mean by important? Important for what? It could be, is it important for the well-being of an individual, or the economic development of a community, or the sustainability of the planet? Many people would consider those important, and I'm not saying they're not. But for the purpose of the big questions, I look to an umbrella over those, which is it important for conscious evolution? When an individual evolves or grows into emotional maturity, grows into living their full potential, then everything evolves. And this is, of course, when everything evolves, then that trickles down to all the specific issues. Third question, and the last in this interview, is how can people participate? Well, there is a new forum on the internet, and that is at bigquestions.emanatepresence.com. There's also a Squidoo lens called Big Questions. that would be a good place to start, to visit those sites and see if there's anything for you. The forum is for people to have an open dialogue, to write and respond to their own questions, to find their answers from within, from the source within, and then to share it with others to help the whole community of people who are interested in this to evolve. You might notice the art behind me. This is a drawing that came through me a few years ago, and more of these designs can be found at emanatepresence.com. The URLs for all of this will also be at the end of the video, and I'd just like to thank you for your presence and keep asking those big questions.